American voters are casting their votes as Trump and Biden go head-to-head in today's election. Zambian police chief rewarded as the United Nations Women Police of the Year. Unemployment rate is increasing in Tunisia thanks to the adverse effects of COVID-19. These and more coming your way on News Desk. It is 14:10 GMT in our studios and 9 a.m. in Washington, D.C., where U.S. voters head to the polls to decide whether to give Republican President Donald Trump a second four-year term or replace him with Democratic presidential candidate, a one-time Vice President Joe Biden. The election comes against a backdrop of deep political divisions amid COVID-19 and racial tensions. As you can see, these are live images from one of the polling stations as voters cast their ballots in the 59th U.S. presidential elections. And we will keep you up to date on development on the election throughout the day on our subsequent news bulletins. Now, the United Nations Development of Peace Operations has named the Chief Inspector of the Zambian Police Force as the 2020 United Nations Women Police Officer of the Year. Dorent Malambo, a serving officer in the UN mission in South Sudan, will be presented the award during the 15th United Nations Police Week, which takes place virtual on Tuesday. More of that in this report by Juldenjai Suare.
Chief Inspector Malambo currently serves as gender advisor in Juba, South Sudan, where she was first deployed in 2016, a year marked with widespread violence in the country. Malambo witnessed the suffering and devastation firsthand and recalls what happened back then.
I had no direction during the first day of the crisis. And then the second day, of course, we were following the radio announcements. And then when they called upon the ANPO officers to come out and help the South Sudanese who were running through the camp, I was one of the first females to just come out. I didn't even have a protective jacket.
Working with the United Nations Population Fund, she helped establish the Stand Up for Rights of Women and Girls initiative that has helped to reduce and prevent sexual and gender-based crime in South Sudan. As part of this project, Malambo also created a network of groups led by male local police officers to engage other men in the community to disseminate information and to promote the protection and advancements of the rights of women and girls.
When I ended my first mission in South Sudan, that was in 2018, I just stayed 3 months in my country and I was called back on quick return because of the works which were recognized on the women empowerment.
Her previous UN experience includes a deployment with the United Nations mission in Liberia from 2008 to 2009, where she assisted the Liberia National Police to prevent and investigate sexual and gender-based violence and domestic violence. Her national experience spans 24 years with the Zambia Police Service. The United Nations Woman Police Officer of the Year Award was established in 2011 to recognize the exceptional contribution of women police officers to the UN peace operations and to promote the empowerment of women. This year's award carries a special significance as it marks the 20th anniversary of the Security Council Resolution on Women, Peace and Security, and 60 years since the first deployment of the United Nations Police to the United Nations operation in the Congo. For iAfrica News, I am Juldenjai Suare.
Zambian police officer there rewarded by the United Nations. Now we come back home and report on politics because the leader of the United Democratic Party, Usainu Dabo, on Saturday laid the foundation stone for a political bureau in Sanyang, accompanied by a huge crowd. The party leader couldn't address the gathering as it was initially planned, and even the media was unable to talk to Mr. Dabo. But Africa's Omar Ahmad Toure had discussion with some UDP parliamentarians and party supporters who were on the ground at Sanyang.
At Sanyang, the UDP converged a huge crowd to welcome its leader, and Africa TV had conversation with UDP parliamentarians and party supporters on the ground. Amongst them was Momodu LK Sane, the deputy speaker, who said UDP is gaining grounds and constituencies in the country are competing to see the establishment of UDP bureau in their areas.
In the life of the political history of United Democratic Party, it's a party that has been formed since 1996. And since then, the party is growing from strength to strength. Today is a foundation stone laying of the constituency committee of Kombo Sanyang in the Kombo North constituency. So therefore, it's very significant, and the party is gaining momentum, is growing from strength to strength. Because really, all constituencies in the country now are working towards having a political bureau for United Democratic Party. As a result, that's a significant moment for the party, and it's a big achievement for the party.
The UDP parliamentarian for Kombo East, Lamin NF Konta, said UDP has principles and represents the wishes and aspirations of Gambians, and that transparency and accountability will be a certainty come 2021 when they form the new government.
But the UDP party, the party Miyalongo, is a party of principles.
UDP, it's a party of principles, and they have a vision. They have a mission on which the party is run, and they never relent in that. Anything they are doing, they do it with guiding principles and the way citizens want it. So, on that note, transparency and accountability will be the order of the day come 2021 when the UDP government takes office.
Ami Baji, alias Jola Baji of Lamen, said UDP will defeat President Barrow in the coming elections, and just as Jambe, he too will end in exile.
Yaya is better than Adama, somebody who sacked his father, beat his brothers and insulted your helpers. Your enemies who said you are always sleeping are now your friends. But let him know UDP is the party he came from, and we haven't done much to Yaya Jammeh. We will defeat Barrow in elections, and he will find it difficult to remain here in the Gambia.
The UDP then became part of the opposition alliance known as Coalition 2016, but after its leader was sacked by Barrow, it went back to its position as the main opposition party in the country. It is preparing grounds for the 2021 elections with its leader, the possible candidate for presidency. For iAfrica TV, I am Omar Ahmadu Toure.
And from the report there by Omar Ahmad Toure, as UDP launched a bureau at Sanyang, we would now move to Uganda, where authorities of the country or the tourism industry are using agritourism to help revive the sector following the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Local residents also embrace the new farming system, which has been established by an agriculture research institute. Like many other sectors, the tourism industry has been hardly affected by the pandemic, but authorities are striving hard to save the industry. Here are more details of that in this report.
That's what is happening here.
An agriculture research institute isn't an obvious tourist destination, but here, Ugandan scientists are showcasing a variety of crop and animal species.
Agrotourism is becoming very, very critical, and people are now coming in willing to pay money to learn more about agriculture.
Agritourism in Uganda involves touring coffee farms, visiting fruit and vegetable farms, staying in rural bed and breakfasts, and experiencing life on a farm. Scientists here believe demonstration farms like this one will help the locals know more about their favorite foods and how they are grown. Each visitor here pays about $3 as an entrance fee, and some say it's worth every penny.
During this lockdown, we were idle, which is shares, and I wanted to find something which will keep me busy. My backyard farm is small, and I'm not earning that much from it. I had to come here to see how I could improve and I've really improved on this.
I'd never gone to the fish. Now because I came, I've gone to the fish. I found kale. I'd never known what kale is. I've seen it here. So it is very important. People should visit these places. We do a lot of mistakes when we think we are farming and we say we are making losses, whereas it is because we don't know what to do next.
Before the pandemic, the tourism industry posted revenue earnings of over $1.6 billion. But local authorities say they are not likely to hit this target because of job losses and travel restrictions for foreign visitors.
We've lost a full financial year. That's between $1.6 billion to $2 billion, according to our projections.
Uganda receives about 500,000 local tourists at its tourism parks and sites annually. So while boosting agritourism could well help push that number higher, it won't make up for the massive loss of revenue from international visitors.
Ugandan authorities there working on modalities on how to revive the industry after the impact of the COVID-19 global pandemic. And with that, we will now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and now to matters of the COVID-19 again, because the European countries are experiencing a second wave of the coronavirus infections with new cases rising daily. This has forced some European leaders to take drastic measures to stop the spread of the virus. The WHO's Director General, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, over the weekend called on leaders to intensify efforts at tackling the spread of the virus. The CISE has more details of that in this report.
The long-predicted second wave of the pandemic in Europe has begun as several European countries are reporting more COVID-19 cases than they did during the first wave of the pandemic in March this year. The WHO's Director General, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, has called on leaders to step up and for people to unite in this critical moment.
Countries in Europe and North America continue to spike. This is another critical moment for action, another critical moment for leaders to step up, and another critical moment for people to come together for a common purpose.
According to the WHO, the rise in cases comes after a period of unprecedented lockdowns during the first wave, which helped reduce the number of new cases and deaths across the continent. The second wave of infections in Europe is far worse than the first wave, as the continent reported more than 250,000 cases in a single day, according to reports. Speaking to the reporters via a video link from self-isolation after being identified as a contact of someone who has tested positive for COVID-19, Dr. Tedros also advised people to follow health guidelines as a way to prevent the transmission of the virus.
I am well and without symptoms, but will self-quarantine in the coming days in line with WHO protocols. At this time, It's critically important that we all comply with health guidance. This is how we will break chains of transmission, suppress the virus, and protect health systems.
The WHO's technical lead, Dr. Maria Van, also briefed reporters that they are doing contact tracing to suppress the transmission of the pandemic.
Everything that we have put in place, everything that we are recommending to the world, we are putting in place here as well. And so, as Mike has said, we are tracking all of the cases that are happening amongst staff, doing contact tracing forward, doing contact tracing backwards to make sure we understand how people were infected, and making sure that transmission is not taking place.
According to the WHO, Europe does seem to have got a bit relaxed in June and July. Once the numbers began to come down, people started traveling extensively, even for leisure, and this has contributed to the shock the continent is experiencing currently. This has forced many European leaders to take drastic action in order to contain the second wave of the pandemic. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
The WHO boasts urging world leaders to heighten their efforts in the fight against the COVID-19 cases as the virus continues to spread around the world. And finally, to North Africa, in Tunisia, where the unemployment rate is expected to rise in the country amid the growing effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Authorities say more than 800,000 people, including university graduates, are currently without jobs in the North African state. According to the country's National Statistics Institute, as the hardship continue, the government has been urged to come with aid for the affected people. And for more details of that, we go with this report.
The Tunisian Confederation of Industry and Handicrafts says sustaining small and medium-sized enterprises has been challenging due to the negative impact of the pandemic.
SMEs are in crisis. They are facing real difficulties, and the worst is yet to come during the second wave of the pandemic. We are scared about the impact of the current health crisis on the whole economic and industrial fabric. The banking and service sectors as well as investments are also affected because both demand and production are declining.
According to the latest Central Bank of Tunisia statistics, tourism revenues dropped by 61% by the end of October 2020. Experts have warned that the unemployment rate will rise to a record high, 21%, in the next few months.
The crisis resulted in the loss of 165,000 jobs. This number will rise to 200,000 or more. The current unemployment rate is about 19 to 20%. There will be no job creation in the near future, especially in the tourism sector, which is devastated. Even the most successful businesses in Tunisia were forced to lay off staff and to reduce the number of working hours.
The National Institute of Statistics estimates the number of unemployed people stands at about 850,000. That figure includes over 250,000 university graduates. Ravia Warhezi, who holds a degree in economics, has been unable to find a job. She is desperate because her life has been adversely affected by the COVID-19 crisis.
The coronavirus crisis is causing me to lose hope, and I'm not the only one. I cannot find a job, even in the private sector. I know dozens of friends who've lost their jobs since last March. Sending applications and knocking on doors has not helped. The situation is catastrophic.
A recent survey conducted by the Arab Institute of Business Managers and the Agency for the Promotion of Industry and Innovation revealed that 65% of companies expect a decline in turnover in the next 6 months. Consequently, at least 100,000 people could lose their jobs during the same period.
The World Bank has revealed in its economic monitoring report that poverty and vulnerability are expected to increase in Tunisia. The Tunisian Confederation of Industry and Handicrafts has urged the government to support the businesses and individuals who have been affected by the first and the second wave of the pandemic.
Lack of job is said to be increasing in the North African state of Tunisia. Well, with that, we will finally and eventually bring these news text to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, you can also log onto our website on africa.tv. But you can join my colleague Sohna Tunga at 17:30 GMT, that's 5:30 local time, for the World Today News Bulletin. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.